Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Filecoin virtual community meetups. My name is Emily, and I'll be your host today. Before we begin, though, I would like to remind you of the Filecoin Community Code of Conduct, and Jamie is going to go and link that in the chat. And I ask that all of you please abide by these rules so that we can have a successful and productive meetup today. Now, let's begin. We have a very wonderful lineup of speakers in store for today, discussing preserving humanity's most important data with Filecoin, as well as some of the finalists from the Apollo Hackathon. But first, since it's been quite a bit since we last met, I'd like to run through what we have been up to over the past couple of months. In September, we had more than 500 miners worldwide that took part in the Filecoin space race and onboarded over 325 petabytes of storage to the network. The Apollo program ran from August 19th to September 30th, and it was a 6-week invite-only program designed for entrepreneurs, builders, and makers in the Filecoin and Web3 ecosystems. Also, as I mentioned previously, I'm extremely excited to host some of these teams from Apollo today. We also completed phase 1 of Slingshot, and phase 2 of Slingshot is already well underway. And to the most exciting of these updates, on October 15th, the Filecoin network went live. This was the culmination of years of hard work from the entire Filecoin community, but the mainnet launch is just the beginning. We have a very bright, decentralized future ahead of us. To celebrate the launch of Filecoin mainnet, on October 19th through 23rd, we had over 2,000 Web3 enthusiasts from around the globe gathered for Filecoin Liftoff Week. We heard from more than 80 presenters covering mining, development, policy, activism, and more, each sharing their vision for the decentralized web. If you want to catch up on all of that action, please visit the Filecoin YouTube channel. In October, Protocol Labs launched the Filecoin Foundation. The Filecoin Foundation is the board of leaders from the Web3 technology, legal, and activism sectors responsible for the oversight and governance of the Filecoin network. The Filecoin team also upgraded the Filecoin security program and spec. We announced a collaboration with Consensus. We participated in Shanghai Blockchain Week, introduced the Web3 video series in partnership with Textile, announced the Filecoin Frontier Accelerator with Long Hash Ventures, which will begin in 2021, and many more. If you are interested in catching up on any of these updates, please check out the Filecoin blog at filecoin.io/blog. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan Dotan. Jonathan is a fellow at Stanford Center for Blockchain Research and the Stanford Compression Forum. He researches and lectures on applied strategy and policy for the decentralized web and co-founded the Starling initiative. He has over 20 years of experience navigating the intersections of media, tech, and policy. Jonathan recently wrapped 6 seasons writing and producing HBO's Emmy Award-winning series Silicon Valley. And finally, today he will be introducing us to the Starling project. All right, Jonathan, you can take it away.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Emily, and the team at Filecoin. I love these events because I think this is the essence of really what Filecoin is all about, is the community. And so I'm very happy to talk about what we've been doing over at Starling. And really my intent here is to give you an overview of what we're doing, but also invite you so that if these projects are of interest or there are things with your technology or your passions that spark, we're very happy to collaborate. And our initiative is an academic, a nonprofit, and open source initiative. And so in other words, we're as easy to work with as you could possibly need and want. So let me give you a little bit of an overview of what we've been doing with Starling. So to begin, Starling got started as a joint initiative between the USC Shoah Foundation and Stanford's Department of Electrical Engineering. The idea is to present a comprehensive set of tools and principles that allow community organizers and NGOs and journalists and those who care about human rights to securely capture, store, and verify information. There are a host of partners that have come forward that have helped us not only design various prototypes, but actually go and deploy them in the field. And we really have a bias to action for what we do, because we think that responsible and ethical and realistic development of technology is possible. So to give you a little bit of overview of what we do, there are 3 modules to the Starling framework, and they really follow what you would expect a normal signal flow would be for the capture, storage, and then verification of information. So to walk you through our signal flow, it's an open source set of prototypes. We have a root of trust that begins in the hardware. We're using a variety of Web3 protocols in order to get our work done. And finally, it is decentralized in its core. So with that, we've been able to, I'll walk you through how actually we move from the camera all the way up to the front page of something like the Washington Post or the New York Times as a goal with our technology. So we begin with a camera that exists on any mobile phone. And we know that those cameras have a variety of sensor information, be it GPS or network information or the gyroscope or even external validators like time and date. And we take all of that sensor reading and we create a metadata file and then pair it with every single image that comes through the phone's camera sensor. That image is then hashed and then signed. In some of our prototypes, we've been able to do very advanced forms of signature that reside on a trust zone within the new secure enclaves that exist on the next generation of processors. So we worked with HTC and an incredible team in Taipei called Numbers to do a prototype where we did exactly that. That secure file is then stamped with a CID and then broadcasted out to a decentralized storage solution that incorporates a variety of different storage devices and partners. So that is anything from an enterprise cloud solution to an on-prem NGO solution to mobile phones that activists, thousands, millions of activists can just hold a piece of an archive on their device. We've even tried out things like Raspberry Pis and experimented with mesh networks with the great folks over at the Internet Archive and the Haifa Cooperative. And last but not least, of course, we work with Filecoin. And there, the advantage is that we're not just decentralizing the storage of files, but we're also using the advanced proofs of replication and proofs of space-time to do ongoing fixity checks to ensure that the image that we know was taken in a tamper-proof way on a device is then, of course, securely stored over time. And that's a very powerful solution because it means that basically the more storage that we have, the more people that are involved in the network, the more secure our storage solution becomes. And that is an inversion of the typical power balance where everything now is just centralized and you rely on enterprise cloud security as your mechanism to ensure the integrity of files. We here are basically reversing that process and giving the power to the end users to be part of the sealing and the secure storage of files. But that's not enough. Once you're able to get the phone captured and the data captured and stored, you still need to verify it. And so we have built with Filecoin and the Hedera Hashgraph and the folks over at Era an incredible solution that takes basically the attestation of experts who review files and then takes those attestations and puts it on a secure storage solution. So each attestation is then put on a hash graph, as we see here. And what's really powerful about this is that every instance of the attestation is secured in a decentralized way that will allow for each organization to do their own attestation. So what that means is that journalists do their own attestations, lawyers can do their own attestations, the organizations like the UN can do their own attestations. And then through a browser, everyone can check that those attestations are valid. A user can see all of this. And then as they're looking on the web or on social media, they can access that ledger to test the validity of the image. And what I think is so powerful about these things is that you really have moved away now from an idea that you have a single point of verification, but instead you have a decentralized mechanism for verification. So there's no single ledger of truth. Instead, every organization that has an opinion about the information can refer to a secure cryptographic chain of evidence, provide their own attestations on their own ledger, and then users can determine through a web of knowledge, basically make their own decisions about whether they think something is true or not. So that's a brief overview of the Starling framework. We've deployed now in the field with applications that include secure capture applications on the next generation mobile phones from HTC, secure storage solutions with them as well. We've built a front-end solution for Starling Verify, which is in active use with aid organizations who are forward deployed in places like Syria. And then finally, we have the Starling APIs for storage that have been built out into a CLI, as well as a well-documented set of APIs that folks can leverage. So it's very much the beginning of our work, but we've already been able to have great success in working with folks like Reuters and others to do deployments of the technology. And then you can see that we've worked with them on creating really advanced ways of presenting that technology. And so hopefully in time, these are the types of things that end users would be able to see as they look at the media that's presented to them. Part of that solution is being done in collaboration with the Adobe-led Content Authenticity Initiative, which is bringing together some of the biggest names in the media space and the technology space to address issues around authenticity. And more broadly, we have now an agenda which really has deployed our technology in a variety of iconic use cases. For instance, we have started the process of decentralizing the storage of the largest database of human rights testimony from genocide survivors, working with the USC Shoah Foundation. So that's over 55,000 survivors of genocide. We've taken their testimony and are now in the process of decentralizing storage of that. We've also worked with the same foundation to go into the Amazon rainforest and to document the ongoing struggle of indigenous elders, and specifically their role in standing up for the rights of the environment and being on the front lines of climate change. We've been working with activists in Syria and working hard to secure storage of critical information that covers war crimes that have been committed in Syria. And then finally, we worked with Reuters to do a prototype of a secure capture workflow covering the 2020 primary in California. And that has now evolved into every day for the last, I guess it's been 12 days or maybe 15 days. It feels like 2 years. Basically, every day since the election, we have been sealing photographs that are covering this transition period and committing them to the Filecoin storage solutions, as well as some other ledgers as well, to record this critical moment in history. So I'll close now before I get to questions with a little bit of a view to our 2021 roadmap. We are in the early stages of putting together an archive accelerator that can allow, in a decentralized way, for emerging community archives, specifically ones related to the protest movements and the BLM movement, to securely store the critical data that they have in documenting police brutality. This is especially important in the wake of a lot of issues around content moderation, where the push and the stress of doing more and more content moderation on places like YouTube has unfortunately also resulted in the destruction of key evidence that could be used in accountability proceedings, be it war crimes or domestic crimes here in the US. So we're working with the human rights community to find ways of taking information off of these platforms and securely storing them in a more decentralized fashion, so they are there for investigators when they want to move forward to hold people to account. We're also in the early stages of designing a mechanism to integrate our secure capture solutions directly into Signal. As an open source tool, there are a variety of ways of getting that done. That is an early effort. So from an engineering side of things, we're definitely looking for help if that's of interest. And then finally, our verification module has really been upping its game and taking the attestations from lawyers and forensic experts and cataloging them and formatting them in such a way that they could be admissible in war crimes proceedings. So this past quarter at the Stanford Law School, we've been working with a group of intrepid law students to create some new standards around how verification can work and identifying vulnerabilities in the existing pipeline that we have, and then working with folks over at a variety of standards organizations to take our information and ensure that it can be useful for lawyers later on. And that could involve things not only just to clarify imagery, but also to protect witnesses and potentially even allowing things like the cryptographic proofs of Filecoin to become part of a self-authenticating chain of evidence in court. So I can go on and on, but I think it's probably best for me to pause here and take some questions. We're passionate advocates of all the great work that Protocol Labs does, and feel privileged to be part of this community in ways that we can help you, standing by and happy to do so.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for the presentation, but even more so for the efforts that you've done to ensure humanity's information is not only secure, but decentralized. It really is. I mean, you and I have worked together for quite some time now, but Starling is such an amazing use case of Filecoin, and it really is inspirational. So thank you. Oh, we do have one question. Let's see. Okay, what does attestation entail? Also, who can become an attestation node besides the authors of the file?
Great question. So when we get imaging from the field, in some cases, but not all, the NGOs that collect this information want to push it out to experts that can do their own analysis of a photograph or a video to help layer on additional levels of certainty and context around that image. So that attestation could involve forensic analysis using sophisticated forensic tools. It could also just involve a legal analysis where someone looks at a photo and makes a determination around what's going on there and why that might be a war crime. At the moment, those attestations are done in a very, I would say, unstructured way. And so we're creating ways of allowing people to make those attestations in a more distributed fashion. There are a lot of issues around privacy and the sensitivity of this information. And so not only do we develop the tech, but we also think about best practices to honor all those. So we like to think of ourselves as both placing equal emphasis on technology and ethics when we do this work.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. And you can find Jonathan on the Filecoin community Slack if you have any other questions. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them there.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks to all.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, so next up, we have Chris Seifert, who is an Apollo finalist, and he has been working on crypto projects since 2016, following a theme of tokenized trusted relationships, a web of trust payment network, a NFT charity, WeChat crypto gifts, and finally his current project is kontext.app. Chris, on to you.
Hey guys, and thanks Emily for the introduction, and thanks Jonathan for the first talk. You're working on like some of the biggest problems out there in the information space, really. And you had one slide already taking us to the problem space where we are working on, which is content discovery, filtering, and moderation. Basically the space where these Web2 companies are struggling, the users are unhappy, advertisement companies are unhappy, right? So that's where we think that Web3 can really fix it. But let's first praise Web2. Basically, we all use Google, Twitter, Amazon, Spotify, and so on every day, right? And we like and we share and we have favorites, we rate stuff. And that way, all these companies, they really get a great picture of our identity, right? Of our identity of taste. They know what stuff we like, where we've been to on holiday, and so on. But the problem really is that you cannot export and import that data really, right? So for example, if you want to take your YouTube and SoundCloud playlists and then sign up at Spotify for the first time, you cannot really sign up as the guy who has his playlist somewhere else and has this taste in sort of music and so on, right? And the same for restaurants and for social media and for search and movies and everything. So our big vision is that we want to enable any user to download any of these identity data to Filecoin or to any decentralized storage to then aggregate it and to train algorithms on it, recommendation algorithms, and to then reveal his identity through some authentication setup to his friends maybe, or maybe to some other services. And now the stage we're at, we are building a small MVP which is this bookmarking extension, like really simple. Like back in the old days, you would have dig.com or Delicious. And basically what you do is you have an URL and you bookmark it. You can give it rating upwards and downwards and so on. And you can save it into your web app and you can view it like you would view Reddit or your bookmarks in Chrome, right? So this is the first step. And then the second step is the social element, right? Like you want to meet other people who have the same taste in music, and so on, who bookmark the same bookmarks, right? And then based on that recommendation of people, you can also make recommendations on new content. And taking that thought further, you can build a marketplace for algorithms, right? So the algorithm to recommend simple content pieces or other people who are similar to your tastes is really simple. But you can, if you want to use the same algorithm as Twitter would or TikTok would, and use it for the same bookmarks, right? And we think that really is an opportunity to, like a business opportunity, right? Because all this research and development is bound to centralized companies mainly. But then back to the MVP. So basically we now separated all these levels, like the front end and the moderation and the back end, right? So what we can do is we can use our same Chrome extension to hack the DOM in Chrome and actually show, for example, on Twitter, show similar tweets or show the top tweets of the week, like you would see on Reddit. So we could fix Twitter and make it less focused on endless scrolling, but more focused on, high quality content. Or we could show social context. For example, on Google Maps, you might not want to see the star ratings, right? Because some are written by bots or just, in the best case, written by anonymous people who are not really connected to you, right? You want to see the social element. You want to see what your friends think about this restaurant. And then, it's a big industry. Like there's a lot of money behind recommendation algorithms, right? It's basically all advertisement. It lives from being as personalized as possible. And the small story behind the value I like is that, hey, there's ByteDance, this Chinese company, which is the most valuable startup ever right now. And arguably all this value comes from having the best algorithms for content discovery, right? And then if you take that thought further, like what would the world look like if those engineers actually could work on an open marketplace, right? And take jobs from everyone, could work on Gitcoin bounties, right? And that's what you want to realize. And us is Dongha and me. We just started a month ago, and we would be happy to get a DAI on our Gitcoin grant. And if you want, you can chat with us on Discord. Yeah, and I love to get feedback. If you have questions, feel free to talk to us.
Thanks, Chris. That's awesome. As someone who uses Instagram, the algorithm is always very interesting to me. I mean, basically every app now has a crazy algorithm. So it's pretty crazy to think about how that actually works behind the scenes. So with that said, if any of you have any questions for Chris, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. He's also linked his project there as well. So next up, we have Alex Voto. Alex is the project lead for dCompute, a DevOps toolkit and marketplace bridging decentralized computing and storage. He previously worked with researchers at Consensus to develop an incentivized federated machine learning system and helped Gitcoin develop their virtual hackathon platform and line of business. He also serves as a San Francisco blockchain community organizer and research affiliate at the Institute for the Future, a Bay Area nonprofit futuristic think tank. His focus lies at the intersection of economic design, peer-to-peer technology, and social change. So Alex, you can go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction. Hey, everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting a project that we are working on and just got started on in the Apollo program called dCompute. It's me and a couple of my colleagues here that have been fantastic to work with. So I recently took a huge interest in folding at home, and I don't know if anyone has played with this, but it's a application that you can run on your computer and even on a PlayStation 3 and a whole host of other kinds of devices that lets you harness the storage and computing power on your computer and actually take pieces of a huge problem such as protein folding for medical research and lets you operate on a piece of that problem, solve a little bit of it, and contribute it back to the commons. And with this, you actually get the effect of a massive, massive worldwide supercomputer that's composed of just personal computers and other people who just want to volunteer the time on their devices. So this for me was like just tremendously impressive, really cool that people could come together from around the world with a common purpose like supporting medical research or some of the other applications of this similar kind of technology, this BOINC technology involved looking for extraterrestrial alien signals, and doing climate research. So a lot of different kinds of ways that you can use this collective computing power. And when you think about how most services and apps we use today are structured, many of them keep their data, their intelligence within their file store. Many of those are run on AWS, Google, what have you, in cloud storage, and you're locked into a contract with each of those. And as a result of most things being created for a Web 2 environment, we haven't seen decentralized applications really reach their full potential and tackle massive problems that might require something like AI in a decentralized and trustworthy and verifiable way. So I thought, and my colleagues thought, it would be really cool to use some of the emerging technology that's coming from the blockchain space around decentralized computing and distributed computing, and the incredible power of having decentralized file storage like Filecoin. And this is a huge potential market. Like even with the centralized services, it's expected to be around 3.9 billion by 2025, and that might even be a low estimate. So how do we unleash this crowd intelligence in a way that inspires us, like folding at home? We want to pull together as many different ways of doing distributed computing and storage as possible into one bridged DevOps solution and marketplace, and we want to call that dCompute. As far as our first couple of technologies that we want to bind together to accomplish some of these tasks, we really want to look at Golem for distributed computing, which is an awesome project, mostly out of Poland, and Filecoin, of course. So our goal with this is to measure our progress toward making something that allows people to get large problems, especially in data science and what we hope to be enterprise level IT, in a way that's affordable, that scales in the way that you would expect from a first class IT solution, in a way that's decentralized so that it's fault tolerant, especially for things that might be politically sensitive, and things that are collaborative, things that are fun, things that we can help contribute to and collaboratively solve around the world. Of course, we don't want to create this in a bubble and only cater to the blockchain community. So we're looking for the easiest ways that we might integrate into frameworks that people already use today to solve the world's challenges. So we're looking into integrating into things like serverless frameworks so that people can easily switch away from AWS Lambda in a similar way and actually do this serverless compute, kind of function forward computing. Maybe even if we're able to unlock more real-time computing capacities and interactive things by marshaling those computing resources in real time, we could do something like a Jupyter notebook where people can actually play with data, play with new algorithms in real time, and test out and co-build intelligence together live. And like I said, it's not just about getting the tooling right and pulling together these disparate storage and computing modules just for those developers. What we want to do is also make it really easy to share these recipes. So if you've ever used something like if this then that, very, very simple to take your information, your data, or data from other sources and chunk it through algorithms according to some popular functions. And that magic of doing something really, really powerful with a very simple graphic user interface we want to do that in a marketplace. So we're hoping to bring together popular data sets, perhaps even verified data sets, and algorithms that are very popular to work on. So we want to create kind of a community of curious minds coupled with folks who have storage and computing capacity who either want to volunteer that or perhaps to make money off of it. And we know that this could be used in a whole host of traditional kinds of infrastructure needs, medical research like we saw with folding at home, and we're already starting to see Golem do some chemical research in a similar way to what we've seen with these BOINC-style grid compute applications. Hopefully some finance apps and having people do some interesting machine learning modeling and just general business intelligence. We have a video of a demo, so hopefully this will show up. This is a couple screenshots from that, but you can see this was actually an example that had already been created by Golem, and it was a very thin layer that we added in order to take that URL, which leads to a textile bucket, and take the input file, which was a 3D Blender animation file. And we were able to take from that textile bucket and chunk that all out into a set of frames that a group of Golem nodes would then collectively compute. And you can see here in the Finder window, these output files start to be received. And after just a short while, you can actually preview them. And this is a rendering task that you would either do locally on your computer or on a cloud server that you would rent out. But here you can actually cut it up and send it out and have it accomplished. So even though during Apollo, during this kind of hackathon environment, we just took an input file from this textile hub, which right now is mostly just using IPFS. What we want to do is have full-fledged access from each of those nodes to actually reach out to Filecoin themselves, get those things even quicker using retrieval markets, and not only take the input, but also share the output into something like OrbitDB so that you can collect the results and actually reach some incredible scale with what people can solve together. So that's the basic idea. We are on the Filecoin Slack. You can reach out to us by name. I'm Alessandro Voto or Alex Voto if you ever reach out. We're really, really curious to see who else is interested in building on this stuff. If you're familiar with any kind of distributed compute project, or if you're a pro at using Filecoin or even investigating retrieval markets for things like data that we might use, please reach out. We have a grant up on Gitcoin that you can check out, and I look forward to seeing how you all use this once we're able to share the tooling. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. That was pretty amazing watching the demo. It seems very complex, but exciting as well. So yeah, like he said, if you're interested in collaborating, reach out on Slack or in the chat. So last but very not least, we have Nandit. He is the creator of Bytebox and a software developer at Fleek and Web3 enthusiast from India who loves to take part in hackathons and build things. Now over to you.
This is the project that I built during the Apollo Fellowship. It's Bytebox, and its aim is to move and manage content to the Filecoin network. So currently it's me working on the project. Yeah, so the problem that we are trying to solve is that currently there is less privacy and control on data in the current cloud storage services. And there isn't an easy way to transfer data from the current services to the Filecoin network. Like if the user is using something like Google Drive or iCloud. So we want that process of transfer to be very seamless. Another problem that is existing is that there is complexity in managing storage options for optimal cost and performance in the Web3 world today. And also there is a lack of similar experience in using the Web2 storage services. So the solution that we present to it is Bytebox, which puts privacy and control of data in the user's hand via the decentralization and the Filecoin network. And our tool automates the transfer from the Web2 storage services to the Filecoin network. And the user can easily come to our platform and manage how do they want to store and possess the data and gain the control for that. And the interface we aim is also need to be at par or equal to the current Web2 storage services. So then only the user would be having a similar or better experience in using it. So this is just a glimpse flow chart. Like on the left, you can see these are the current Web2 storage services prevalent in the market for personal data storage like OneDrive, Google Drive, iCloud, etc. And we see Bytebox as a medium of transfer for a general user who wants to store their personal data to the Web3 network. Again, our target market is right now any individual or organization who want to store their data on decentralized storage. And we think that in coming years, more users are becoming, they will be becoming more privacy concerned, and our product can be a better alternate to them than the current storage services. So again, this is to iterate that the current cloud storage market is very huge, like hundreds of millions of users for each of these popular services that are there in the market. Again, as per our research done, that these services are pretty broken. Like these are the some of the updates from 2020, which says like uh, even for Apple, like multiple iCloud services have been down multiple times in this year, and like there was uh, a typo error in Dropbox that allowed user files to be transferred to someone else, not intended to be. Even with OneDrive, there was some problem, and Google Docs and Google Drive, they also went for some time. And we think that current Web2 storage services uh, are pretty broken, and there are better alternate for that. So again, to iterate that, as per our research, like some of the problems that users are currently facing, as per some user surveys, is that they are pretty much concerned about performance, visibility, control, cost management, and security on the current storage services. The personalized cloud storage market is again a very huge market, intended to be around $89 billion in 2022, a very high growing market of 23% annual compound growth rate. So yeah, moving on to how we are building our product, we are using things like IPFS, Filecoin, Fleeks, Space, Daemon, Textile, Node.js, and storage service APIs. Again, like this is again to iterate that this is something that happened like a couple of days back. Many of you might already know that Google Photos is ending its free unlimited storage coming next year. So we think that if users have to pay for the storage services, why not it be something which is better in terms of privacy, in terms of control, and even probably cheaper than the current alternates. Like if they have to pay, why not pay for a better alternate? If it was free, I guess, yeah, that was fine. Even I am good with paying for free services, but I guess if you're paying for that, you should go for the better alternates. Again, we think that our product can be used for as an integration tool to many other decentralized products that are there in the market, like Proton Mail for email, decentralized chat systems, or other P2P collaborative document softwares using CRDTs, built using CRDTs. So, like right now, Google Drive is doing that for, let's say, Gmail, for Google Docs, and all of those, being a common storage provider. Even for your WhatsApp chat, you would be using Google Drive or iCloud. So we think that Bytebox in future can have integration with other services that there in the market. So I'll move on to the demo to show you what's our current progress that we built during the Apollo Fellowship. Yeah, so this is how our product looks right now that we built during Apollo. So these are the various buckets where user has their content. So let's say I have this bucket called as art where I can, yeah, so it's loading. This is the current file and it's IPFS hash right now. So if I want to, import my data from Google Drive, the user can just come and click on this button and then, yeah, uh, connect his account to our Bytebox service. And then let's say I want to transfer these 3 images to the IPFS. I can just click on transfer files. It says transferring. So the aim is to make this process very seamless, to go from your current services to the IPFS and Filecoin network. Yeah, so the files are now transferred now. Yeah, you can see these just got loaded on our interface, and user can just click on open and see what that file is. The IPFS hash is here, the file name is here as it was on your Google Drive. Similarly, they can, if they are using Dropbox, they can use Dropbox and maybe select all if they want to transfer all of their data or the couple of files that they want to transfer. Now again, it is transferring the files. The files have been transferred. Now it will show up it here in the bucket. Yeah. So let's just open this for an example. Yeah, so this is again a simple interface that user can use and interact with their files easily, transfer their data from the current services to the Filecoin network. Yeah, so the future for this project going forward is that we aim people to use Bytebox for storing their data on the cloud, Filecoin network, IPFS, because we feel that are better alternatives. And we aim to, provide them similar experience on mobile phones and laptops so that they can sync their data across all of their interfaces as they would do on the current services. And hence, the ultimate aim is to be a better alternate to the current storage providers. Again, I would end with this. Yeah, this tweet that I tweeted just yesterday, a funny one that, okay, Apple and Google has full privacy encrypted storage services like iCloud and Google Drive, but I guess this claim is pretty much disputed. And if user have to pay for them, then why not be it a better privacy focused alternate? Yeah, thank you. Do get in touch if you feel uh, you want to know more about the project and how it's going to go in the future, and maybe collaborate together.
Awesome. Thanks, Nandit. And if you do have any questions, you can just go ahead and put them in the Slack, the community Slack, which Nandit is in as well. All right, guys. So thank you so much to our incredible speakers for taking the time to share your expertise and projects with us today, and especially for displaying what an amazing ecosystem that we are building together. If you would like to stay up to date on the latest Filecoin news and events, please sign up for the Filecoin Slack, the Filecoin newsletter, and also subscribe to the Filecoin YouTube channel, which will all be linked in the chat. Thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at the next virtual meetup. I hope everyone has a happy holiday if you are celebrating Thanksgiving next week, and we will talk soon. Thank you, guys.